Hi lovelies, and welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda's channel. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much for all the love and support. To those people that share my videos and leave commentaries and also educate you guys are the real MVP. Thank you so much for all the love and support. All right, lovelies, let's dive in today's video. So lovelies, I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok, and I thought to share with you guys where this Hispanic woman actually gave reasons why, as a black person or any POC person, that is not advisable to actually enroll your little one to all white school. And she was actually making a lot of sense, and a lot of people actually stitched the video. I'm just gonna roll the clip as well as some of the stitches I was able to put
Let's talk about why putting your black or Latino Latinx child in an all-white elementary, middle school, and high school is not highly recommended. So one of the top reasons that people of color may put their children in a predominantly white elementary or middle school or high school is because of the grades or their academic progress. So because these schools have more funding, they're better able to educate your kids because they have more resources, more teachers who are qualified or experienced, and they usually use teaching methods that are new and up to date. But the problem with this is that you're putting your child in the most mentally unstable environment that you can think of. I met this white woman a couple of years ago who adopted a black son. And I was having a conversation with her where she was sharing to me that she shared with me that her black high schooler at the time was struggling in high school. And I asked her about her son's school. And she said that it was a predominantly white school and that she wanted to put her kid there because she didn't want him to go to a different school than her other child, her biological child, because she didn't want him to feel different. And in my head, I'm like, this child is extremely black. He already feels different. Look at you. I don't get how you don't want him to feel different when he's already different. That's number one. And you know why I didn't say that? I was just listening to her. And she was telling me that he was struggling on a real personal level. He seemed very mad. And I suggested to her, maybe you should pull him out of that school and put him in a diverse school where he's not the only black kid. And honestly, I don't really think she listened because her biggest message was that she didn't want him to feel different, without realizing that in the school that she's placed him in is a place where he's totally gonna feel different because he's going to school with students from all walks of life. And honestly, probably 90% of them are super mega racist. And he was probably encountering all of the microaggressions you can think of. I gave my suggestion. She didn't listen. I moved on. But I highly, highly believe that when your children are young, it is super, super, super important that if you cannot get them in a school where there's predominantly black and Hispanic or Latinx kids and teachers, that then you find alternative programs where you can surround your children around their own people. Because when your children are very young, it is super, super important that you help build their identity. And placing them in predominantly white spaces is not going to give them the best opportunities to learn about themselves so that they can grow up to be confident adults and productive humans in society who will help their people progress as well. So I've been a teacher for 9 years and I've taught thousands of students. Most of my students have been black and brown students. I have had very few white students because I've only taught in schools where there's a predominantly black and brown population. Not only have I taught for 9 years, but I'm also a mom and I have kids in school as well. So you think that because your one niece went to school in New Jersey, that's enough proof to show that black and brown kids are not going to experience racism? I not only have quantitative data to disprove you, but I also have qualitative data, meaning I've had thousands of experience with children to debunk what you just said. But even if you don't want to take my anecdotal experience with thousands of kids, you can just do the research. This study here done by the Journal of Public Administration Research states that if your kid, black or brown, is in a PWI, predominantly white school or institution, their teachers are 54% less likely to recommend your child for gifted program. Meaning AP classes, IB classes, they have a lesser chance to be recommended by white teachers. Here's a study on attendance and how when teachers don't understand the culture of their students and can't communicate with the parents, their grades are affected. Here's a study that talks about how Latino students who have darker complexion have reported experiencing discrimination at higher rates than their white-skinned Latino counterparts. Like, y'all think that I pull this out my ass, but little do y'all know, some of y'all at least, that I have years of experience in teaching and years of experience dealing with parents and students and administration. I'm a top tier teacher. So sorry, your one anecdotal experience does not debunk what I said about racial discrimination in the US when it comes to Latinx, Hispanic, Latino kids. Bye.
Stop sending your kids to the all-white schools for access to better education. As someone whose parents did the same, we've talked about it, they regret it. Let me tell you why. It causes irreparable damage to your self-esteem and your mental health that takes so much time and effort to self-correct that it's not worth it. But sending them to an all-white school with people who do not look like them is not the answer, I promise you. This is how you have people getting on the internet talking about like divesting from the Black community, or like people who are like, it's just a preference, it's just a preference. Like, no. Also how you have people my age, 28, who cannot date people the same skin complexion as them because it makes them uncomfortable. It's not their preference, when in reality it's just this thing that's like in their head that they can't shake, but they don't have the language to explain it. And it's I'm sure it's embarrassing for them, but it's also very embarrassing being on the receiving end of that. All of those people, the common denominator is they did not grow up with people who looked like them and developed a fucked sense of reality that honestly they probably will never unsee. And I just don't think the access to better education is worth it. And I feel like people are so quick to judge these suburban Black kids who have these types of problems and are just like, well, you can just like think differently. And I don't think you understand, like, when you have been fighting for your life in defense of your race since you were 10 years old, it is not like a switch that you can just like get back into and think like properly. It takes effort, and it's really fucked up, all in pursuit of a better education that honestly we all should have access to anyways, but we have a system that gives priority to wherever taxes go or whatever bullshit. I don't feel like explaining it. Send your kids to school with people who look like them and pay for the extra tutors. Put them in Kumon or something. Or yeah, maybe send them to the white school and put them in environments with people who look like them so they don't forget who they are, because the aftermath is scary. The aftermath is how you have people like freaking Candace Owens. And as someone who had to spend a majority of their early 20s unlearning all of that, I could have been doing anything else. But instead I had to unlearn racial trauma that I shouldn't have been exposed to in the first place. So general PSA, just don't do it. Or if you're going to, like, have guardrails, but it's 110% not worth it.
Hi, I'm Nia. I am getting a PhD in education and psychology, and I was one of those Black kids that went to a predominantly white school for a better education, and now I have the mental health issues to show for it. But lucky for the next generation and anybody watching this video, I have some anecdotal and research evidence that shows that it is not necessary to subject your children to an all-white learning environment just so that they have better academic outcomes. The majority of my research interests have to do with, you guessed it, Black academic achievement outcomes. Unfortunately, there's often this idea that Black students are inherently less intellectual than other students, but that's obviously not the case. Now, what is the case is that Black students do thrive in environments where they are supported, and we often do benefit even more so than students from other ethnic backgrounds from culturally competent and culturally inclusive teaching and pedagogical practices. So to put this in layman's terms, we really benefit from faculty support and from seeing ourselves reflected in our student body and seeing ourselves reflected in our professors or in our teachers and in our curriculums, which is literally the opposite of taking our kids and sending them to an all-white school district or school system. Now, I do understand that unfortunately here in the US, the quality of your school system is usually directly related to the socioeconomic status of the zip code that you live in. But what I would like to encourage all of us to consider is that there is merit in seeing ourselves reflected in our classmates and our teachers and our principals, and that it is extremely important to continuously remind ourselves and our students and our children that there is inherent greatness present in each and every one of us, and that we do not need to look outside of ourselves to see greatness and academic excellence. I can definitely make some more academic videos on this, but I just had to stitch this because this is something that I've been personally affected by literally my entire life. I did not really have other Black students in my classes with me until I was like a teenager, and I didn't have a critical mass of Black students really in class with me until I got to college, when I was at an HBCU. So that kind of messed me up in the head, but yeah, white is not always right.
Growing up Black in an all-white school, part 1. So just for context, there was less Black people at my middle school than you can count on probably 2 hands, maybe even 1 hand. So I'm just going to share some experiences that I went through and things that I did to fit in. The first one is what shocks most people. This is a binder clip, and I would use it on my nose. So I would put it on my nose and I would use it to make it skinnier. And I still have like this permanent kind of mark from it that's bigger than the other side. Yeah. I would also have my hair straight basically every week, which took 2 hours to do, and often multiple times a week. If I was going into a formal occasion, I would do 2 hours of this and then probably an hour of curling my hair after that. I also use super light foundation. This is the one I used to use. This is the one I now use. And I would put this not only on my face, but my arms and everywhere to make sure I looked whiter.
Listen here, Buckaroo. If I wanted to play the Oppression Olympics and win the gold medal, I could have done so many other things. You know, I could have made up stories, or I could have even talked about stories that are way more terrible than the ones that I shared. But the reason I picked those stories in particular is because they came up at the top of my head. There's still things that I'm trying to unlearn, and they have also just shaped who I am, and they were in my formative years in middle school. So yeah, I'm not trying to play the Oppression Olympics, I'm trying to share my experiences, bro.
Sending your kids to predominantly white private schools isn't the flex that Black parents think it is. Now, I think this is a little complicated, right? I can understand why many parents would feel the need to send their children to private schools that are predominantly white, because those schools oftentimes have better resources, better teachers, and can put their children on a pathway to getting into some of the most elite colleges in the country, if not the world. That being said, the microaggressions, the racism, the harm that they will experience in these institutions that were never built for them will have you spending thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on therapy, to undo the trauma that they've experienced at these institutions. And some of that damage will be irreparable. Like,
when you predominantly grow up in a white area, white town, and you are a person of color, there's a few challenges that you're going to go through. And one of them, and I don't know if I'm the only one, and I might get a little bit of hate for this, but maybe I won't, because a lot of people might agree with me. Or not agree, but like understand where I'm coming from. When I was a kid, I always felt really misunderstood in a way, because I'm Hispanic. And of course, I'm white passing. Like, I totally 100% get that. But what's crazy is that, you know, everybody and their mother in this town was white. So I felt like I was like, am I missing out on something? Like, am I okay to talk about my culture? Like, can I talk about like the Hispanic foods that I be eating, or just like the stuff that we go through as a whole? It's just so crazy, because as a kid, and especially back in the day, being Hispanic or any race, you would always get a bunch of judgment. They're like, ew, why are you eating that? This and that, blah, blah, blah. And it sucks, because as a kid, you should really love who you are, not want to be another race or somebody else.
Like, seriously, lovelies, I think that I totally understand and I agree with some of the stitches I was able to put together. You know, oftentimes, a lot of us, you know, decide to want to put our you know, little ones in all white schools and all of that, or because of maybe, they have more qualified teachers, they have more qualified whatever for educational standard, and because of that, it has actually made a lot of parents to want to put their little ones in these schools, which I would not blame them for trying to do that or impact knowledge in the life of your little ones. But we sometimes need to think about the little ones we are enrolling in this course. You have to sometimes think about the little ones you are enrolling in this course. How is their mental health? How are they coping in school? What or how is it that they are being treated in these schools? This actually reminded me of a video I stitched one time of this 9-year-old, black princess. I think her mom, came to pick her up from school, and she was sharing her day and how her day went through. And she decided to share the experience she had in school to her mom about a pan-colored, the same age boy, how he was being so racially on her, all because of the color of her skin, or because she looked like me. So she went ahead to tell her mom that she was in the class with this third boy who happens to be her classmate, and they were like in the middle of an assignment, and she decided to ask the boy to actually pass a pencil that is of black color to her. And what this little boy had to say was, is it the pencil that looks like you? Is it the pencil that is as black as you? So for someone of that age, age to have something like this tells the kind of family such person is coming from. It tells the kind of orientation or the kind of upbringing such little one is coming from. So because of this thing, this little girl decided to like ask her mom, like, is it all right for this person to actually use such words on her, considering the fact that she is actually a black girl? And she was like, mom, is this racist? Is it not considered racist? Is it not considered racial slurs and all of that? And I was so amazed by the fact that a girl of that age actually know what slur means. That means that the mom actually impacted something on her to actually teach her, make her see the difference between someone being nice and being racially slung with you. And now this channel is in the way at which parents want to raise their child and the kind of school they want to enroll their student or their little ones. If you want to enroll your child in this all white schools, you should just be reassured that this child might one way or the other pass through some kind of discriminations, either because of her hair is very different from that of her classmate. She will try as much as she can to try to look the way her classmate looks. She might even get herself involved with some kind of friends that will mock her or try to being discriminatory against her and all of that. So those are the things parents need to actually look at, considering if they want to enroll their little ones in these all white schools. I am not saying that all white schools are like, but majority of them have this thing in there that actually makes your little one have some kind of mental, what I call it, just the way this teaches explained the way they were feeling. So I think people that looks like me need to in schools and actually employing capable hands. Like, it's even high time people that looks like me have to have their own school, well funded, with all professionals that is needed. I know there's a video I posted, I think it's yesterday, where someone was complaining about how black people and all of that want to make everything about them. Like, they want to have their own black space, black houses, black radio station, black, shopping mall and all of that. If you are being discriminated, you have no option than to actually have something that is meant for you alone. It's not the fault of black people to start having all of those things, mainly for them. Because if you want to mingle with these people, you want to maybe send your little ones to all white schools and all of that, they might be discriminated, maybe because of the way they look or the color of their body or their hair and all of that. So opening an all white or all black school is not also a bad idea. Having only black product is also not a bad idea. You can have them, then any other person can come patronize. I don't see anything wrong with that. I know a lot of Pankala people were like, oh my, they were just crying. That, like the video I stitched earlier on, they were just crying like, oh my god, black people want to make everything about themselves. They're having their own black this, black that, and black. It is not their fault they're ending up to have all of these things. Because you people have made it, difficult for them to actually relate. So they end up having their own things in their own safe places, and you wouldn't blame them. You wouldn't blame these people. When I saw this video, it actually reminds me of a lot of things. It reminds me of things that these little ones go through in their studies and their school places and environment and all of that. Anyways, lovelies, why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video, and do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational purposes. So please share this video, subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next.
And if you have watched up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Why not just leave me your own thoughts in the comment section of what you think of this video. And do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying, harassment, or whatsoever. We're just here for educational purposes. So please share this video, subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.